ASU and ASU Care acknowledge the 22 Native nations that have inhabited this land for centuries. Arizona State University's 4 campuses and ASU Care are located in the Salt River Valley on ancestral territories of indigenous peoples, including the Acamel A'atum and Peeposh Indian communities, whose care and keeping of these lands allow us to be here today. We acknowledge the sovereignty of these nations and seek to foster an environment of success and possibility for Native American patrons and communities.
Welcome. Welcome to Gather Storytelling, ASU Care's storytelling series that happens every other month. And tonight's theme is Lost. And when I saw that, I was like, ooh. I'm wondering how you guys felt about it. And just this week, I had that tune that went through my head about I was once lost, now I'm found, was blind, now I'm see. That wasn't a tune that go like that. But The Amazing Grace. And I thought, well, maybe some of us will get found tonight. And maybe some of us will get further lost, like when you're on a great adventure and you don't care that you're lost and you keep going. So a little bit about the evening. I am here with 3 amazing storytellers. The very beautiful and musical Tatiana, the great debonair Brad, and the fit and strong Jeb. And they're going to be telling you true stories tonight. Now, after the show, there's going to be a Q&A. And we invite you all to stay. And it's a really fun part because you get to dive into the psyche of the creator-tellers' minds. And it's always very insightful with conversation and lively. So I hope you get to stay for that. We're not going to go too late. And so you get home early. And what else? I'm getting lost. Okay, go into your bags and purses. Grab your lost phone and turn the ringer down. All right, yes, because I don't want you to feel embarrassed and I don't want to feel really bad for you. Like, oh man, I'm so sorry, that woman feels really embarrassed. So turn that down. Now, you are allowed to record and you can take pictures, just no flash, no lights. And if you're going to post it to Instagram, we would love if you tagged us. So that would be tagging at ASU KERR Live, ASU Care Live, so we can all share in the goodness of it. So, now we're going to get down to business. A little about me. My name is Elizabeth Wells, and I'm your host for the night. You're stuck with me. And I am a writer, I am a storyteller, I am a speaker, I am a teacher healer, I am a multidimensional creator artist who helps other people, organizations, groups find their lost creativity. So when their muse wanders off the stage, I'm like, get back here. And I help the people find their creative inspiration. Often they already have it on them. It's like the keys in the pocket that they forgot about. And I go, oh, hello, somebody just got lost. And I also help people with stress reduction. So, and I have a wonderful online course called How to Rest if you've forgotten and lost your ability to rest. And there's books and CDs and cards and a mailing list up there if you want to join my community. Now, what's different about ASU Care storytelling series is that we let the host tell a story. Also, not a true story. Oh, hello, this is coming. Not a true story, but a traditional story, or a folktale, or a story in the style of a traditional story. So that's me. So we're going to begin. The story I'm telling is called The Great Belonging. And it starts with a little bit of a tune. Now, I want you to buckle your seatbelts, sit back, and relax as we lift off into the wonderful, magical, mystical land of storytelling. Oh, listen, listen, listen to the story encoded in your soul. Listen to the story, pulsing waves. Listen to the story, beating in your heart. Winging, singing, laughter freeing, DNA bound no more. There once was a woman who lost everything. Her entire family, her friends, her home, her country, and dreams. And she walked lonely through this world, feeling ill inside her heart, becoming weaker and weaker. And the world tried to help her. They tried. They said, "You're not alone. Are you better now? I know exactly how you feel. Don't cry. God needed your people. You're strong. Move on." You know, they wouldn't want you to be so sad. Look at the bright side. You had them a long time. Be grateful for that. You can choose to be happy. You can become positive again. You know, grief gave me compassion. And I think this is teaching you about detachment. And you'll grow from this. You're still grieving. She's still grieving. Time heals all wounds. This too shall pass. Let it go. You will get over this. Time heals all wounds. Let it go. Move on. You're strong. But with all this advice, no one could simply sit with her in the great sadness. So she walked and went about her days. There was nobody to share the stories of her life with, what her life with her family had been like. She loved them and was loved by them. How could it all suddenly be in her past? One day as she was walking the earth, she fell into a deep sleep. She was tired. She took a nap like we do, an afternoon nap, but it was a very deep sleep. And in the dream appeared a woman who appeared in the form of a tree. And the woman had arms, great big arms that were like branches to the sky. And she had limbs that were roots into the earth. And she looked at the sleeping woman and she said, "There is no greater suffering a human can go through." And she was a little flummoxed. She didn't know what to do. And she finally looked at the sleeping woman and said, "Edge of the world," smiled and disappeared. And when the sleeping woman woke up, she felt a little relieved because she felt she'd been seen, even if it was only in a dream. And she continued walking the earth amidst the deafening noise of clatter. And one day, she found herself at the end of the world. And she walked a little bit further out to the tippy end of the world. And she sat down at the edge of the world, vowing to live the rest of her days there, dangling her feet off the edge of the world. And every day she watched the sun rise and set, and the moon rise and set, and the stars twinkle and then be clouded over by the moving skies. One day, time became meaningless. And one day, as she sat there looking at the sky, a great big star flew out of the sky, whoosh, right next to her. And it turned into this giant rock with arms and legs that rocked and rolled. And he introduced himself and he said, "I am the real edge of the world." And he looked at the woman and he said, I see you. I hear you. I'm with you. And the next day when the woman came to sit and dangle her feet at the edge of the world came again. And he cleared his throat. Get her attention. And he said, I'm with you in your doubts and fears. I'm with you in your rage and tears. I'm with you in your yesterdays and tomorrows. I'm with you in the devastation of your heart. I'm with you in your hopes and dreams. I am with you. I am with you. I am with you. And the woman felt a little bit relieved. And now every day she came to sit and dangle her feet at the edge of the world, she and the edge of the world sat together, and the woman started to feel a growing peace inside her heart. And one day as they were sitting, the edge of the world said, many have come here just as you do to dangle their feet off my edges. And we, the sun, the moon, and the stars, watch you and all who have come before. And the woman, in hearing this, felt a little less alone. And then the edge of the world said to her, you be however you are. We love you as you are. We accept you as you are. And you are loved beyond all loved. And the woman's eyes brimmed with tears and relief. And now every day when she came to sit and dangle her feet off the edge of the world, she began to have a little bit of pep in her step. And one day when she was sitting there, she looked up and saw a child to her left and a man to her right. And they each sat alone at the edge of the world, dangling their feet. And the woman got up and she walked to the child and she sat next to the child. And the child looked at her with tears in its eyes. And the woman put her arms around the child. And the child leaned into the woman's silence. And the woman turned to the child and said, I see you. I'm with you in your suffering. I won't go away. I'm here with you. And the child weakly smiled. And many more days passed like this. And one day the woman said to the child, would you like to take a walk with me? And the two got up together and they walked to the man where he sat alone, dangling his feet off the edge of the world. And the three of them sat together. And they listened to each other's silence. And they listened to the sound of the sun, the moon, and the stars. And one day the edge of the world came, and the edge of the world said, there are others like you who cannot get to my edges to dangle their feet, but they live in the cities and towns where you come from, and no one sees them or their hearts ache. And the man and the woman and the child slept on these words, and the words swirled into pictures and dreams. And the woman saw herself walking to the cities and towns, gathering all who were sorrowing. And she saw them sitting in a great circle of belonging. And as they listened to each other's hearts, waves of distress rose high and then were calmed. And the man saw himself walking to the town, and something was happening in his body. Something was going on in his throat. And suddenly he was singing this, return, 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 return to love. He was shocked. I mean, he'd been a minstrel, a troubadour, a singer, and he'd forgotten. And suddenly, all the birds started to ring, and all the bells started to sing, and loved ones from across the worlds and beyond the worlds, ancestors flew in to chime in and sing with him too. And the little one danced towards the cities and towns. And the butterflies came, all the flying ones, birds, angels, dandelion wisps, flying saucers. And when the three woke up, they took the sand from their eyes. They found themselves at the edge of the world, dangling their feet. And the edge of the world came and sat with them again. And the edge of the world turned to the child and said, sometimes there are no answers, no ribbons and bows to wrap up the painful part of your life with. But to live unaccompanied in sorrow and disappointment, even with your joys, with no one to share your happiness with, is one of the hardest things on the human heart. And he turned to the woman and said, listening is the great medicine. Hearing another's pain is a great kindness, one of the most loving things you can do. And he turned to the man and he said, and song is a balm. When you sing, others come along. You will find release and relief on which tears can ride, on which laughter can rise. for tears and laughter are great medicine too. And just as he was about to continue, the tree dream woman appeared in the sky. And she was so excited. She was running around, and the breeze was going through her limbs. And out of her body where gold leaves were dropping, and red roses were flying from her heart. And she was saying, "You found the edge of the world. You found each other." And she was so happy. And then she said, "I'll see you again one day." And she smiled and took off. Now, the edge of the world, he was a little chagrined. He was a little chagrined at the interruption, but he also loved the tree dream woman and knew why she came. And he rolled around with his rocky hands and legs, and he gathered the golden leaves and the red roses into bundles. And as he did this, he said one last thing to them. He said, "Little do people understand the mysteries of death and the sacrament of sorrow. It is sweet to be silent before grieving loved ones. Become an empty vessel in their presence, and you will have given everything to them in love." And then he handed a bundle to the child, and he handed a bundle to the woman, and he handed a bundle to the man. And they watched him roll around, and he retracted his arms and legs, and he sat there like a rock, and then he lifted himself off the earth and flew back and became a great star in the sky. And the man and the woman and child walked to the cities and towns where they had come from, dropping gold leaves and red roses so people would find them. And when they got there were great circles of belonging that began to form. And they saw what lay behind people's eyes, and they saw what sat in their hearts. They saw the sorrows and the songs and the stories. And many gathered. Sometimes they sang, sometimes they wailed, some beat the ground, some beat drums, and the wailing became songs, and the drumming became praise for their hearts, however they were. And they lifted their arms, and the child led them in dance for what was lost and found, for sorrow and joy, for the ones gone on and the ones to come. And they danced for the many who were still not safe to do so. Now you may think that all the sorrows and scars went away, but they didn't. They were embraced, though, as a great mystery, and they were remembered and honored and loved. And if you listen very carefully, in the ethers, in the airwaves, you can hear a song. From here to there, from the great belonging to the edge of the world and back again. Return, 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 return to love. Listen, listen to the story encoded in your soul. Listen to the story, pulsing waves. Listen to the story, beating in your heart. Listen. Listen, listen to love. Thank you. We've got our first storyteller coming to the stage, and his name is Junior Earl Butler, known as Jeb. And Jeb is a former World Boxing Federation super middleweight world champion. He has trained Arizona Cardinal players, traveled the world working with actors, and held after-school fitness sessions in schools. He created the boxing-inspired cardio workout Jeb Boxercise, and owns a fitness studio in Ahwatukee where he offers small group circuit training, self-defense courses, core workout, and more. Oh my God, how do you have time for anything else? As well as classes for kids and seniors, personal training, and athletic speed training. You can learn more about what Jeb does at jebboxercise.com. And Jeb's story is about, I will let him tell you what it's about. A warm welcome for Jeb.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am from Louisiana, a very small city in Louisiana. Very small city. One thing I noticed at a very young age, that I was very different. I was very different from my parents, my sister, my brothers, from the community. I was not different in the aspect of my mentality, my mindset, right? I thought I could do anything at a young age. I thought I could do anything. I wanted to be amazing things, right? Things that I didn't see other people have become. And so when I was little, going to high school, getting ready for college, our town was a very drug-infested, crime-infested, and I knew that if I stayed home, then I would be lost. I would be caught up in the crime, I would be caught up in the drugs, I would be caught up in something that wasn't beneficial, that wouldn't predict my life today. And so I have a friend of mine, good friend of mine, my buddy of mine that lived up the street from my house. He came to my house. He had a scholarship for basketball. He played basketball in high school. He said, hey, I'm going to college. And he said, you want to go? I jumped in the car. My mom was lost. And I jumped in the car, packed my clothes up, jumped in the car, drove off to college. Didn't talk to the dean, didn't talk to the athletic department, didn't talk to nobody. I just jumped in the car. So when I got to college, it was in Texas, Navarro. Talked to the dean, I filled out financial aid, made the football team. I was in college. So, but that was not the big thing, right? I was in college, but football wasn't my passion. That was not my dream. So in the English class, in one of my English classes, the professor, he was telling a story about himself, about how he used to be an amateur boxer, not a professional, but an amateur boxer. And after class, I was like, hey, man, I love boxing. And so my professor, he took me on I was a student and I was a trainer. He was my trainer. So he trained me. I fought an Olympic box-off in 1988, won the Golden Gloves. And so the friend of mine who I drove to college with, our financial aid had ran out. So we had to go home. So my professor said, hey, listen, there's this boxing tournament in Dallas, and I think you can win it. You want to participate? I said, sure do. What do I have to lose? So at the end of the night, this guy comes up and said, hey, listen, we want to give away this scholarship that he did every year on behalf of his son who used to box and died. He said, we give away a scholarship every year to the best fighter of the tournament. In the fight of the tournament, this scholarship goes to Earl Butler. I won the scholarship. So I was able to pay for my college and my friend's college and able to finish up. So my friend was lost. Like, man, what happened? How we doing? What are you doing? So I won the scholarship. Participated and won the scholarship, paid for his college so he can finish up, pay for my college so I can finish up. So after the next semester, it's time to go home. We were packing our clothes. I get a phone call from the gentleman that gives away a scholarship every year. He said, listen, Junior, I believe you can become a world champion. And I want to send you to Arizona. I have a camp in Arizona. I have a team in Arizona. I want to pay all your bills. I want you to pursue your dream. I want you to go after your dream. I believe you can become a world champion. So yeah, go talk to my parents. If your parents say it's okay, call me back and I'll fly to Arizona. I said, I'm going to Arizona. So I went home, told my parents, told my mom. She was lost. She was really lost. My sister and brother was lost. I was lost because I knew I wasn't going to see them for a long time. I knew them that my destiny it was different from their destiny. And I would have to leave for a long time and be away from them a long time. But I chose to come to Arizona. Came to Arizona in 1990. Turned professional in 1990. I fought from 90 to 96. Every network, made a lot of money, did all the things that people would say a professional athlete or a person needs to have to be successful, be happy. Had everything. Houses, cars, jewelry, girl, everything. But I've yet to do the thing I came to Arizona to do, is win the world title. And I was lost. So I fought this guy. Man, I fought this guy in Connecticut on USA Choose Night Fights. and I lost. And the media and the boxing world was saying, hey, this guy has to win this fight. He lost several other fights. If he don't win this fight, he will not get a world title fight. And I lost. So I got back home, dropped to the airport, driving back home. I just bought a brand new Jeep. It had a brand new apartment, nice stuff, all the jewelry, everything the world would say you need to have to be successful. Had a lot of money in the bank. Had $10,000 in my pocket from the fight. Man, I was driving home. And I told God, man, if life is about money, cars, girls, rings, jewelry, I don't want it. I was lost. I went home, turned my television on. Man, saw this guy. It was TBN, Larry Kerchak, a number of professional athletes. He said, listen, man, if you're here and you're listening, you need to come to our meeting, man. This is for you. It was right here at McKinney's in Phoenix. I went there, gave my life to Christ because I was lost. Accepted Christ, I did accept him. So my trainer and I, from 1990 to 96, we worked with Don King, Lou Duval, all the big-time promoters in the world. But we could not get a title shot. Man, we were lost. Man, I was lost. Could not get a shot. And the guy said, hey, man, listen, I've watched you fight several times. If you give your life to Christ, man, and turn your life over and stop doing what you're doing, man, with God, you become world champion. I was, no way, man, no way. I got this. I was lost. Went home, 2-3 days later, I decided to call the guy. So you know what? I'm gonna come back to Bible study with you guys. 2 days later, my trainer got a call, said, hey, listen, we want Earl Butler to fight Tommy Hearns. Fought Tommy Hearns on a big national network, television, made a lot of money. And I lost the fight. Should have won though, but I lost the fight, I lost. And the difference though is that I lost. But when we got back, a month later, my trainer got a call from one of the biggest promoters in boxing, Raymond Seedy. He said, listen, man, we want Earl Butler to fight for the world title because we saw how he got up twice after getting knocked down. Not by winning, we saw how he got up twice. So we went in to fight for the world title. My trainer, my mom, my family, my friends, they were lost. Because you don't get a title shot for losing, for getting up. You get a title fight for having an undefeated record, for being great, for appearing great. Numbers appear great to people. 10-0, 12-0, 16-0, that appears great. But we got a shot to fight for the world title, not for being undefeated, but for getting up after getting knocked down twice. 2 months later, I won the world title on the biggest stage in the world, pay-per-view, Caesar's Palace. And that's my story.
Go ahead. Come back. We have a quick question for him. Are you still in touch with the professor who originally inspired you, the mentor there?
He died. He got killed like 10 years ago. He got killed 10 years ago.
Did you get to see some of your progression in life?
He did. He watched me win the world title. Yes.
Thank you. Next up, we have the beautiful Tatiana Crespo. Tatiana is a Costa Rican singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist that you may have seen at some of the Valley's top stages, including here at ASU Care. She has performed her beloved brand of bilingual Latin folk music as a solo artist with her band Las Chispas and with the all-female ensemble Las Choya Peligrosas. We worked on this. She is also a voice actor, visual artist, and interdisciplinary artist. I still need to work on that word, huh? You can learn more about Tatiana on her very engaging Instagram account, which is Tati Crespo. Tati Crespoarte. Tati Crespoarte. Welcome, very musical, to the very musical and beautiful Tatiana.
Thank you. Hello. So I am from Costa Rica, and I grew up in Michigan, up there. I spent 10 years there before I came here. And when I was in Michigan, I got the opportunity of a lifetime to go to India with my best friend, Max. I was about 18 years old. I was getting into yoga. I was like, oh my gosh, Max, I have to come with you. He's like, okay, sure, you know. I invited myself to India, pretty much. He was going to Penn State, and his roommate was from New Delhi, and he's like, yeah, you know, he invited me to go, and I'm sure it's fine if you come. I'm like, yes! So I went to India with him, and on our way to India, in the airplane, I go to the bathroom, and on the floor, I find a clear envelope with some money in it and a handkerchief. It was white with little pink roses on it. And I was like, whoa, what is this? You know, it looks like somebody's treasure, somebody's like memorabilia of some sort, a lucky thing. And it wasn't a crazy amount of money. It was like 10 euros, maybe 500 rupees, and like 10 pounds. It seemed just like a special thing. And I should have given it to the flight attendant, but I kept it. My intuition was like, oh, this is so precious. Like, I have to keep this. You know, this is a good luck omen. I'm going to India for the first time. And so we get to India, and I felt a little guilty about this pouch. I'm like, man, I should have given it, you know, to the flight attendant. Why did I keep it, you know? Okay, well, you know, it is what it is. There's no turning back. So I go to India with my friend Max. And Max is 6 foot tall, blonde, blue eyes. And it was so warm that he had turned pink and sweating the whole time. And we make our way through India. And we go to Vrindavan, which is the birthplace of Krishna. And at the time I was in community college taking an Eastern theology class. So I was so excited to learn more about Hinduism and about Sikh and Muslim and all the other religions there. We end up going to the Golden Temple, which is one of the most beautiful places I've been to, and countless Hindu temples. And we go to the Taj Mahal. We pretty much went everywhere in 10 days that we could. We were staying with a very sweet family. They had a driver for us with a car. So, yeah, I was like, wow, okay, I'm going to India, fancy style. Yeah, driver, take us there. So, you know, we didn't have to take a cab anywhere. Felt very, very grateful. It was a very privileged experience. We went to a marble mine, like where they like take out huge things of marble, like the size of this room. We went to a meditation retreat. We went to Shimla, which is a town in the Himalayas. We just had a blast. I spent all my money. It's my first time really traveling. Every penny. I bought this skirt amongst, you know, other scarves and a sari and like, you know, all the things that an 18-year-old would think very important to spend every single dollar except for $20, something like that. So our trip is over. And make our way back, you know. Get to the airport. My friend checks in, gets his pass. I'm gonna check in. Yeah, sure, here you go. They're like, ma'am, you cannot enter the United States. What do you mean? They're like, well, your permit is expired. I had an expired green card. It was awful, you know. I'm like, what do you mean, you know? I'm like, what? And it turns out a month ago, you know, we had renewed the papers and I had a new green card, and I never put it in my pouch. And because I had the other one in there, I just assumed it was in there. Phew, completely went over my head. And nobody noticed until it was time to go back to the US. I'm calling my mom. Max is calling his mom. His mom is like, well, you have to come here, you know, like, she's got to figure it out. And meanwhile, my mom was like, Max can't leave you alone in India? What do you mean? And the whole time I'm just like, oh my God, what's happening? And Max is like, well, I already got my ticket. My mom's telling me to leave. Like, I guess I have to go. Hard gulp. I'm like, okay, you know? So I called my friend's mom, who we were staying with, and she's like, oh, yes, come, you know, come, please. You know, you can stay here. So I gathered all my courage and went out to grab a cab. And I've heard so many horror stories about getting a cab in India and, you know, getting kidnapped and all the things. And I was like, oh my gosh. And the host mom was like, okay, memorize the address is this. I wrote it down. And I didn't have any money at all, except for the money that I found in the airplane on my way there, which was exactly the amount of rupees that I needed for the cab to get back to the house. So the airport attendant takes me to the cab. He's like, don't worry, I'm not gonna let you get on any sketchy cab. We got some here. I was like, okay, all right, you know, get in there, get to the house. And the mom had to go on a work trip, and she's like, no worries, I canceled my trip. I felt so terrible. And turns out the next day, there was a bunch of people at the door, knocking on the door. The press is there, the news is there. They were interviewing the woman because they were building an extension to their house, and a worker ruptured a water pipe that went to the whole town. And she said, Tatiana, had I gone on that trip, nobody would have been there to answer the door. You know, somebody needs to solve this issue. I would have had to fly back. So thank you, because had this not happened, I wouldn't have been here to attend to this situation. So that moment made me, well, at that moment I was still freaking out because we had to go to the embassy. I was like, that was the moment. No, it was not. We went to the embassy multiple times to get a letter written saying that I was, in fact, a legal alien wanting to go back to my planet, to the United States. And it took a very long week to get that letter back, of just like sweating, you know, walking back and forth, like, where am I gonna go? You know, I'm just at this house, like, my friends aren't there. I'm just like getting smaller. The food is just so spicy. My belly can't take it anymore. Have you guys heard of Deli Belly? It's a thing where like, you just, you know, get the runs for the whole time when you're there. So I was like, please. Finally, we get the letter, and I buy the most expensive plane ticket home because it was for the next day. I did have my parents' credit card. Thanks to them, I was able to get home. But that was the moment, that right there. After getting back, I realized that you really have to trust in those moments of intuition, because had that person not lost their pouch in the airport and I had found it, I wouldn't have been able to get back to safety. So we really have to trust our intuition as much as we can, because we never know why things end up turning out the way that they do. And that's when the magic happens, right? When you change everything, change your entire life to go do something because you know you have to do it. You're like, man, I'm leaving all these things behind, and then all the magic starts to happen. Or, you know, your car breaks down, and it turns out, you know, farther ahead, maybe you were about to get into a car crash, and, you know, all these things could have happened, and we just have to trust in the path, even when we feel lost. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. No, it's all right. So, what a story. You mentioned that you got left by your friend Max. Are you still in touch with Max today?
You know, it took about a year for our families to be reconciled. Max and I were fine. I was like, man, Max, I get it, you know. And our parents were like, it was a rupture, but we're still friends. He's out there in San Francisco living his best life.
Woohoo. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Our next storyteller for the evening, wrapping up tonight, is Brad DeBiase. Okay. Brad is a Phoenix-based theater artist, storyteller, and drag performer. By day, he serves as the organizational programs manager for the Arizona Commission on the Arts, overseeing grants and professional development for Arizona's arts and culture nonprofit sector. In this role, Brad also manages data and community engagement initiatives in support of Arizona's creative workforce. He also works with the immersive theater group Yes and Productions, and can be seen around the valley as drag artist Kim Etiquette. Let's welcome the wonderful debonair Brad DeBiase, where he will tell you a story about one fateful turn.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, hi, everybody. Oh, nice to be here. So I was on the phone with my brother recently. This time of year gets me a little nostalgic because it's around this time that I moved to Arizona 12 years ago. And so I was talking to my brother, and I told him I had been invited to do this storytelling event, and he's 2 years younger than me. His name is Matt. He'll come up throughout the story. He has a really keen eye for things and a really far better memory than mine, so he can really, zoom in on things. I'm like, I don't know, Matt, the theme is lost. And I know I can go any number of ways with this. And he's like, you should tell him about the night we almost didn't make it to the concert. I'm like, oh, okay, well, try to keep the mood light, but anyway. I wish we had like a flashback dream sequence, kind of wiggly edges, so blah, 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 going back. So again, like I mentioned, I moved out here about 12 years ago, and the weekend before I was flying out here all the way from Connecticut, we had a fight in Connecticut, I recall, context clues. It was my last weekend in Connecticut, and I just wanted to do something really nice for my brother. Not essential, just for flavor. Our parents had gotten divorced like a week prior, and he was going to college as I was going to Arizona, so time of immense change. Light weekend. Mind you, we were also wrapping up our summer jobs in Connecticut at a little local bar and grill right on the harbor. I'm from coastal Connecticut, Milford. Any Milford, Connecticut visit? Oh? Okay. So have you been to the Milford Oyster Festival? I see you thinking. No, it's all good. So the Milford Oyster Festival, it brings together the wackiest microcosm of Connecticut residents. It's like the special time of year where the J. Crew, Vineyard Vines, Yale Elite are rubbing shoulders with the rat-faced dive bar, Von Dutch, trucker hat wearing beachy people. So it's a great, great day, really culturally rich day. And, and I'm working at this restaurant, right? Busiest day of the year, most sales I'm gonna make all year. And all I wanna do is make it to this concert that night. That I bought tickets for Matt and I to go to the triple header Weezer, Blink-182, My Chemical Romance concert. Okay, so we have some millennials here. Very good, very good. I know, so big deal. And all I gotta do is get through this big shift. I'm leaving for Arizona in 2 days. Shit hit the fan at home. I just gotta get through this. And I'm like halfway through this shift, right? It's crazy. I'm like wearing buffalo wing sauce. I smell like a Miller Lite. And one of the other waiters like, Brad, we have a phone call for you. I'm like, really? Right now? Like, no, it's Tara, my replacement. It's an emergency. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So I go to the phone, like, not a good time. If anybody here has worked in food and beverage, this is not good, not a good look. And it's Tara. I'm like, Tara, what's going on? She's like, Brad! I can hear all this like ruffling and this panic tone in her voice. I'm like, what is going on? Are you on your way? She's like, no, Brad, I'm so sorry. I'm lost in a corn maze. I can't get out of here. I'm gonna be late. I'm like, okay, well, I can't help you. And I have to get out of here like soon because I have tickets to this really nice event that my brother and I are gonna go to. It's like the last thing I want to accomplish before I move to Arizona to go to grad school at Arizona State University. Anywho, I crossed my fingers, I crossed my toes. I knew I was probably like putting a bit too much on the line on this busiest restaurant day of the year. And like a biblical passage at 4 o'clock, I just see Tara drive down the driveway of the restaurant. And I'm like, oh, relief, fantastic. Matt, we're still on. Sorry to stress you out there, because I didn't know if I was going to make it for a second. I almost had a backup going. But anyway, I got to make up for lost time, right? Running late. I was supposed to get out of there 2 hours prior. And I'm like, Matt, get in. We're gonna get different food. I don't have time to go home and change. We're fine as we are. It's like at an amphitheater. Like we're not impressing anybody here. And we're driving down the highway to this concert, and I know which exit I'm supposed to get off at. But that thing happens where you can see in the distance like the river of red brake lights, and your day just got so much worse. And your trip just got like an hour longer. So I'm like, in the interest of just like today going haywire, I think if we go 1 or 2 more exits down the highway, I think I can get us there in the nick of time. So we go around the river of traffic, and I pull off. Like I was looking at 91, and we got off at like exit 93. Like I'm not tipping the scales here, but minor detour. And I know the vicinity, I know the neighborhood, I know we're in like the general area of the concert venue, and like there's like a Vegas like glow in the distance, so I know I'm heading in the right direction. And so I make a right, make a left. Mind you, my brother is like struggling with the MapQuest directions we have printed out, because this was before the time of Google Maps in your pocket. So he's like struggling with a MapQuest printout. I think I'm recognizing landmarks down a poorly lit road in like suburban Connecticut. And I'm driving down this road. Again, I think I know where I am. And I see other pedestrians kind of dotting the street, heading toward the Vegas light glow. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. My intuition, we just talked about intuition, gotta follow it. I'm like, okay, awesome, amazing. This street could be better lit. Like the moon is kind of peeking through the trees. I'm kind of, again, going off context clues, right? And there's like one stretch of road, and I see it. I see the venue in the distance. I'm like, oh my God, we did it today. Like, what a karmic cash-in I'm experiencing right now. And I'm driving, and I'm just like thanking my Acura Integra for getting us there. And we're like so close to the entrance, and one of these pedestrians, like I can see them, like they've clearly been pre-gaming, like you might do for a concert. And I see them, and I slow down a little bit, but I'm still trying to get there. And this pedestrian just stumbles right in front of my car. And I do that, slam on the brake, like the kind where you're pulling a muscle in your thigh. You're braking so hard, and white-knuckled, and he literally fell into the road. I couldn't have done anything differently. I could have gotten off at the original exit, I suppose, but that's besides the point. And my heart rate's going up right now thinking about this. Like the visual of a human form just rolling over your windshield, and like I can only liken it to the sound of like sneakers in a dryer. That's like thunk, 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 like going over. And again, in the interest of like miracles happening today, like there's not other cars on this road. So this is, I can brake, I can pull over a little bit, I can get out, and I look in the left hand, the side view mirror, and I see the 2 legs just on the pavement. I'm like, did I just commit vehicular manslaughter? Did anybody see this? What the fuck, Tara? Why were you late? And I get out and I say, Matt, stay right here. This kid is more anxiety ridden than I am, so I'm trying to take the emotional labor off of him. And I approach this guy and I'm just like, what do you need? Can you please say something? Give me something to work with here. And I see him, he twitches a little bit and one hand hits the pavement to like prop himself up. And I'm trying, and I'm like, do I help you up? Does that make your injury worse? I don't know what to do. And he finally like catches his bearings. And I'm just like, can you say something? Like, are you okay? What do you need? And he just looks at me and he goes, that was awesome! And the relief I experienced was halted only by the wall of vodka breath that this gentleman gave me, because even if this man retained no memory of the evening, he would in fact be feeling it in the morning. And so he was like, yeah, you go to the concert, man. Yeah, Blink 182. I'm like, no, do you need medical attention? Like what? He's like, no, enjoy the show, man. Yeah. And like walks over here. I'm like, are you, what? And you know what? We made it to the concert. And that weekend, I went out and got a Garmin for the Acura Integra for Matt to take to college with him.
That was wild. I'm not sure what to ask. Like what? You still in touch with Tara? Did you ever approach her about what happened? And
if I did, I don't think she really retained the weight or the gravity of what transpired. So it's all good.
does she know you're telling the story?
I truly don't think she does. I think she might be circumstantial in this story. The impetus for a detour for your schedule going awry. I wish her well, though, so.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. We have finished our storytelling portion tonight, and we now are going to come to the couch very quickly, and we're going to be asking questions of our storytellers. So come on down. Come on down. Do you want us to switch to this one? Yeah. All right. I can't see you. Now, we will have somebody going around with a mic. We have people, this is being live streamed. Yay, the mic's back there with Tracy. So if you have a question, you can raise your hand. She will run the mic down to you, so not only you, but the people on the live stream can watch it. All right? But I'll get us started. Let's see. Okay, Jeb. How did you transition from boxing champ to fitness guru?
Great question. When I retired from boxing, I had a vision to start a fitness program that will allow athletes, kids, adults, everyone to be in great shape, become champions in their own field. So if you're an athlete, if you're a mom and dad, if you're a kid with ADHD, if you're a parent with autism or with Parkinson's, I have created a fitness program that'll make you great in whatever it is you do. So my program affects everyone.
You have an amazing heart. I want your visions. That's beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that work. Tatiana, what do you find different about telling stories through songs and this type of very personal spoken word storytelling?
Well, I think with music, I feel like the music is a good crutch to lean on for, that's like the song starts and the song ends, and whether or not you get the story, you can still dance to it or maybe like the melody. And I think with storytelling, it's just the story. It feels very naked. My right armpit is sweating a lot more. That's my stress one. That's the stress sweat, which I think is really healthy to be scared and to do it anyway, and encourage people to do that.
Maybe you'll think about combining storytelling and songstress together.
Yeah, if you've come to my show, there's a lot of talking that I do and terrible jokes that I tell, and sometimes I accidentally fall in a hole and I have to crawl back out of the hole. But it's all improvised. I'm a non-recovering pun addict, and people have asked me if I could, do a show of puns or do stand-up. I'm like, I've never written these down. That'd be fun, But yeah, this idea of like pre-thinking of the story and the punchlines and all the things is very new. So maybe someday.
I like that, a punch-up comedy show.
I'll wear my poncho.
Puncho. Here with the puns. Brad, it was good. Brad, how long have you been working on your drag craft as Kim Etiquette, and what do you love about that art form?
Oh my goodness, yeah. So I began performing as Kim Etiquette about 8 years ago. I've always been a theater kid, though. It just has always felt like a natural extension of my drama kid ways. Now just with a more extensive getting ready routine. More glitter, more fragrances. And I'm sorry, the second part was?
What do you love about that art form?
Ooh, what do I this sounds so cliche, but drag is just like, it's so limitless. I think it's such a wonderful extension of just the queer imagination. And we were actually talking about this before the show, how it can intersect with so many other art forms like song, like story. I really want to try to bring in some puppetry into my practice. Different people bring different things to drag. It has really entered more of a mainstream space in the last decade or so, which has pros and cons about it. But the definition is loose. It is porous. It is amorphous. I like to construct my numbers to include some spoken words, some SNL, some pop music, kind of give it a beginning, middle, end. So I guess I really enjoy the limitlessness about it. And what I'll say, in Arizona, we have a really eclectic and rich diversity of drag traditions, even in the same dressing room. We have everything from your old school, campier comedy folks to your more ghoulish, scary, spooky creature gals. We have a really rich pageantry system here. And everyone just really respects what one another does in a dressing room. Some of my best friends in the industry, their artistry is so different from what I do, but we just enjoy each other's company so much and respect what we put on stage. So.
Okay, I can't resist this. So don't answer the question yet. I want to know when your next show is, and invite us in 10 seconds in Kim Etiquette style. I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
How we doing, ASU Care? I was trying to not drop into emceeing a show while that was happening. It's, I guess, a little inescapable. But no, you can catch me at Cobalt at Park Central Mall every second Saturday of the month from 7 to 9 for Follies. So.
Self-promotion. He'll be the next host here. I have a question for me, but do we have any questions from our audience? Come on, I'm sure there must be questions.
I want to know where Brad was from in Connecticut, and can you repeat the venue? So when would be the next show?
Okay, so she wants to know where Brad is from in Connecticut, and can he repeat the name of the venue?
I am born and raised in Milford, Connecticut, outside New Haven. I went to undergrad at Trinity in Hartford. Any Bantams in the house? No? It's okay. The venue of the concert where the incident took place, or the venue?
No, so we can go.
Oh, yes. It's called Cobalt, Kobalt, at Park Central Mall in Central Phoenix.
And your next date.
Second, whatever the second Saturday is, like November 9, I think. I forget.
We'll be carpooling.
Yeah, the second Saturday of the month.
All right, who's up next? Somebody's got to have a story question. Yes, this gentleman here.
Hello, I'm Christian.
Hi, Christian.
So this is kind of an extension of what you asked Tatiana, I think, about her experience storytelling versus performing in music. I'd like to kind of bring that to all the performers, because I think like athletics, and that's a big stage, right? That's the type of performance. Drag is a performance. Tatiana, obviously, your music is a big performance, and maybe just dig into it a little bit. Is it familiar to perform, even though you're performing in a different style, different medium? Or are you nervous? Are you more focused on your story? Are you reliving feelings from your story more? Are you focused on being more nervous in your performance, trying to feel polished? Just, where your head's kind of at, and your feelings and your guts and all those kinds of things. And how does that compare to your kind of typical experience in performance?
So how do we feel when we're on stage?
Shortly.
Who wants to grab this one first?
Hey, champion, man, performance is performance, man. I love the stage, and so it doesn't change for me. So I can be in a boxing ring in Vegas, Caesar's Palace, or a room like this, the same thing. Yes.
I think one thing that I was thinking about on stage was connection, and you are all here to connect with us, and we are here to connect with you, and to pause what's going on outside for a moment, to pause the doom scrolling of world events and whatever interpersonal things, and that's a really special thing to share. And what we shared tonight will never happen again the same way that it just happened, and same with the story. So I think it's all the same in that way, and yeah, that was on my mind, was like, okay, how can I connect with you and bring you into that place of the story?
Yeah, that connection piece, my mind went there too. I like to say, like, we might be your show, but you're our show. And so just, trying to tune in and maybe make some eye contact past the lights where we can. And, if there's a moment of dread, hold for that, feel the entirety of that. If there's levity, let that breathe. So just trying to be present also. Mm-hmm.
Thanks. I like just the audience. I love audiences, so I'm just happy to be in front of an audience. Whoa. What else?
For Brad, how is your brother doing now? And I just learned tonight that you can watch this online. Were you aware of that? So your brother can watch your storytelling.
Matt's doing well. He's still in Connecticut. I think he's still, like, all I have to say is the Meadows, and he gets a shutter down his spinal. So, yeah, really formative experience. And in the realm of any story that could have been told about Lost, I don't know why that lightning rod moment came to me. It just did. In that conversation I had with Matt a few weeks ago. But I hadn't considered sending him the link, so I'm going to do that. Thank you for that recommendation. Yeah.
So I have a different question for each of the storytellers. Tatiana, I think you just recently had a successful performance at the Tempe Center for the Arts. You want to say something about it?
Yeah, so last weekend I did 2 very different performances. One at the Tempe Center for the Arts, where I shared a lot more of my singer-songwriter, close to the heart songs, with just a guitar and some percussion. And that was a really special moment. And then here, that same weekend, I brought in my whole band with a whole 7-piece band to to get people dancing in their chairs and in the back. So those were two really special moments. And I'm headed back to Costa Rica this next week. Life has urged me, nudged me, pushed me to go back home this year. And I'm really grateful for these opportunities to connect here and to share with this amazing, beautiful, incredible community that I will hope to always be able to return to.
How do people follow your work?
So I'm on Spotify and all the platforms as Tati Crespo. So the best way to support is to hit follow on there. I have a song coming out tomorrow. Yay! And TatiCrespoArte.com is my website that I will get better at updating. So,
And
yeah.
the man in the middle, are you Brad? So what are you studying at ASU, and what's your career trajectory?
Oh, it took a hard left, my friend. No, we came out here for graduate studies in anthropology of religion. I had spent time in Guatemala studying at Mayan archaeological sites. And then just the academy was, it took being there to know that wasn't my calling. I was in this anthropology field, and I wanted to learn about how people's lives work by being in community with them, not writing about them necessarily. And so I was always trying to retrofit my arts background to those studies. So I was doing like mythology as script and ritual as performance, and this idea of spiritual tourism, like what is performed in those spaces. And it still wasn't quite scratching the itch. So I did what many good artists try to do and just network and piecemeal together gigs and shake as many hands as possible and slide into as many DMs as possible to just make acquaintances and get to know folks in the community, because I wasn't acquainted with the Arizona arts and culture community. And after a period of that, an opportunity for some contract work at the commission opened up, and being in a place of public service was extremely satisfying. So 8 years later, yeah.
Can you tell people more about what pageantry is?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell people more about what pageantry is?
Oh, yeah, pageantry. And admittedly, my knowledge on the topic is a little limited. I haven't participated myself. But it is a series of nationwide titles that different performers can pursue. There's different systems, and those different systems have different criteria to compete. Like a traditional pageant, drag performers will prepare an evening gown, a talent production. They'll answer an onstage question, and they'll be scored by a panel of judges, and they're vying for a title. And those titles are often jobs unto themselves. They come with a paycheck, and you are expected to travel the country and represent a system. So there's a degree of prestige involved. It is a career goal for some drag performers. Again, I haven't really thrown my hat in the ring for that yet, but it is sort of a competitive space. It's one way to become decorated. And again, kind of before drag entered more of a mainstream space, competing in pageants was one way to gain traction and get bookings and sort of establish a name or a career for yourself. So there's sort of a historical lineage there too. Mm-hmm.
My last question for the gentleman on is that your right or your left? Yeah. Jeb, can you tell us about, in your field, people get head injuries. Can you talk about, is there a growing awareness of that people can get head injuries and concussions?
Concussion is a major part of sports. Not many boxers get concussions, though. There are more football players that get concussion than boxers. So, yeah. And I've never got one, so. Yeah, I've never got one. Try not to get hit at all, really. Yes. Well, my wife always told me, man, you better keep your smile and keep your teeth. So.
Keep your smile, keep your teeth. I love that. Who else? What else we got going up back there? Oh, some down here in the front.
Hi.
Hi.
I'll open it up to all three of you. I'm curious how maybe your friends and families have influenced the way you tell stories, or maybe even in general, the way you perform or the way you show up on stage.
Or how they don't influence you. Or do they know all about your work?
I guess I'll go first. I think the way that I show up on stage has shifted a lot. I started like in high school doing musicals and choir, and really enjoying that. And then my mother is a performer as well. She's a singer. She joined me here last May, and she's a great critic. So, after a performance, I've definitely gotten like, well, you need to smile more, like a lot of criticism in some ways, and whenever she's in town, and we're working on that. No, it's funny because it's the other way now. She's been performing with me more in Costa Rica, and we're getting together this duo thing, and she's like, how did I do? And she'll watch her videos 100 times of the performance, and I can't really watch what I did. I'm like, cool, it happened, it was great, that was enough. But to really be able to express the sentiment of a song is what I learned with her. To really, to perform, to be passionate, to, if the song is sad, to really be sad and feel that, and if it's angry, to really feel it. And above all else, that's like one of the most important things that she shared with me. And I think it comes back to connection, to being able to really, if it's a sad one, to make you cry. And if it's happy, to how can I encourage you to dance? And then with my band, Las Choyas, sweet sisters of mine, it's a 5-piece, all-women band. And for us, the message was the most important thing. How can we really be intentionally healing with the music? How can the music make its way to your heart is the most important thing. So I think that helps a lot with any type of performance, because it's like, okay, well, if I made a mistake, it's not as important as whether or not you really felt it and really took it with you. So it helps me not be so hard on myself after things. So yeah, I feel grateful for those people.
You keep teeing me up so well, because this idea of like feeling better about yourself, like for me, I would say, drag is the great equalizer. Like if I can pump gas in broad daylight in full drag, I can do a lot. Like that's, like it takes the fear, it takes the shame. I don't think I experience shame anymore. So yeah, it definitely sort of does some level setting in that way. I also come from a very traditional Italian family. So if you know anything about Sunday Italian dinner, you eat for 1 hour and you sit around talking for 4. And so I come from a long line of evening length complaining. And it's just a family of storytellers, really. So, yeah.
So are your parents aware of Kim Etiquette?
Oh, Mom comes to all the shows. Mama Etiquette, she loves it. She's over in Central Phoenix as well. Yeah, Dad's still back in Connecticut, so we're a bi-coastal operation. But
So you may have a show where a one-person show with Kim Etiquette and Mama Etiquette?
It's possible.
You could do a couple.
It is. There is. I think there's some like theater and dance on the maternal
Horizon.
side of things. So I probably inherited a little something from that too.
For me, I think that it's my family don't have an opportunity to share their story. A lot of people don't have an opportunity on stage to share their story, right? So I share my story every day with all my clients, and it's I share my story because people need to hear stories. Lives are changed because of stories, right? And everybody takes something different from a story. So I have an amazing story. I share with you guys a part of my story. It gets more amazing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And so I think that telling stories for people that don't have an opportunity to tell stories is amazing. because there's a lot of stories, but everybody don't have a platform, no opportunity to share their story. So I share mine because my family don't have opportunity to share theirs.
You really touched my heart when you talk about your mom, you know, and your family feeling lost when you left.
Right.
How are they today? Are they still out there? You're here. How's that work for you?
No, you know, when I left Louisiana, I go back visit, but I'm not that much in touch because I have so much going on in Arizona. And I have kids, I have family here in Arizona, so I'm not back there as much. And so when I said I was lost, really lost, because I left, really left. And so my relationship with my mom, my sisters, my brothers, my family, my aunties is not the same as it was before I left. So.
And you said you were different, so you pursued your path,
Yes,
in life to touch hearts in a different way.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely touching hearts.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's see. Anybody else out there? Go ahead. We got another question again.
Doubles are allowed. I just wanted to ask, because I believe all of you originally lived elsewhere, right? Like Michigan, Connecticut, Louisiana, and you all came to Arizona. You've all stayed here, I think, quite a while. And so I'm just curious, what's kept you here? You know, or do you think that the experience you've had here in Phoenix is unique in any ways to like the other paths and opportunities available to you, or you know, like I guess why Arizona, why Phoenix? And
Man, I love the heat. I love the sun. I love summer. That's what kept me here. Besides my wife. So I was married. So, but I love the heat, man. I wouldn't move nowhere else. Besides, Arizona is the only state where you can wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and the sun is shining. Love it. And it stays hot all day. I love it. So.
That is why my mom came out here. She was so done with New England winters. No joke. Yeah, I don't know. I found community. I found opportunities. I found work. I found other creatives. Planted some roots and let those sort of grow. I'm not opposed to setting my sights on another destination for the right love, the right opportunity, the right career move. But yeah, I guess I was able to fill up my cup here. So.
Yeah, same. When I was in Michigan, I didn't really speak to any other Hispanic people, just my mom, which is why I don't have a very thick accent. And when I came here, it was originally because I needed to go to school, and I was going to do social work, and then I realized I'm way too empathetic, and I just want to make music. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's a way, like if I'm in a border state, maybe I'm closer to things that I can advocate through my music. And that's what led me to Las Choyas. We do a lot of advocating for human rights and women's rights and migrant rights. We did before the pandemic. We're in a little bit of a hiatus with that project. And 4 years ago, I did promise myself I wouldn't spend a whole summer here anymore. And it forced me to start touring, even if it was busking or going back to Michigan and just traveling a lot more. And right when I was thinking, like, well, should I move? Like, where do I move to? Nothing resonates. Like, this community is so beautiful. I've learned about grants. I started applying for grants and got a grant, which led to a residency, which led to so many other things, performing at places like this. And it really felt like I was growing. And then life told me to go back to Costa Rica and to spend time home with family. Because I'm fully here by myself without anyone, so it was time. So I did what is feeling like the right thing, but coming back here for this past month has made me realize that I'm always gonna call this place home, and that's really special. So, and it's the people that make it home, and the desert, and the creatures, and the birds, the migrating birds. I've become a birder now, like. The food.
The quails. The bobcats.
The bobcats.
Bobcats. I probably have time for one more question. Dum dee dum 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 dum. Not all right. Oh, there's a question.
Our table's full of them. I guess I kind of have a metaphysical, big picture view question. Have you always identified as a storyteller, or is it something new that you found in your identity as you've done your respective careers? It's for all three of you.
I'll start. Yeah, I grew up with a mom who was an actress. And I feel like storytelling, be it on the page or the stage or through art, storytelling happens through so many mediums, and that everybody in this room is a storyteller. We're always telling stories. Oh, Ma, guess what happened at the store today? You know, so to me, it's like where I feel most at home, and I just feel like I'm in whatever medium it is. I feel like a lot lives through stories, and there's so many gifts to story. So, who's up?
Yes, man, I feel like my life is a story, the greatest story ever, right? The most motivating and encouraging story. It gets very, very exciting. And so I always thought that my life is a story, was a story, would be a story. And I'm always telling it, Monday through Sunday. My life is always speaking.
Now you're next.
Yeah. I think I've always regarded myself as that I've always told stories, but I think maybe this role of a storyteller is a newer concept, maybe one that I feel like I've more actively stepped into in the last decade, probably since being in Arizona, really. When I was out here, I discovered that these types of events exist and this community of practitioners exists. But I think, my theater kid is showing, you're inherently participating in story making, and that's why they call them plays, right? Because you play in this fictitious world to tell a story. And yeah.
I love that you said practitioners. Because, storytelling is both healing art, but it's entertainment, it's inspirational, it can be educational. There's so many facets of it. So we're storytelling practitioners.
Yeah, I love that you said that your life is a story. I talk with my mom a lot about movies, how we're all living our own movies, and it's a good thing to remember, I'm just a character in your movie. Of course you're not living my feature film. It's a good thing to have perspective of remembering that everyone has a story. But I feel very new to the awareness of being a storyteller and wanting to be a better storyteller, because we've all been in those group conversations where you tell a story and you're not quite hitting it and it's getting long and somebody interrupts and then no one's listening to your story, and then it's the worst feeling. You're like, oh man. Maybe there's the one friend that's like, I'm still listening. So that really makes me want to be a better storyteller. And with music, it's just so, it's kind of built in. The song is just, goes through it. But singing, I sing a lot in Spanish, and so a lot of times I feel the need to explain what the story is before I sing it, so that I'm understood a little bit better, and I think that's given me more practice. But we all do have a story, and we all need to share it more, and we all got to listen to each other more so we don't miss those storylines.
Yeah, I feel like there's a beautiful Native American proverb, and it says, tell me the facts and I'll learn, tell me truth and I'll believe, but tell me a story and it will live in my heart forever. And I feel like with stories, you can't argue with someone's story, and you can bridge worlds that might not ordinarily talk to each other through story. I feel like stories can help bring world peace. So I want to thank you all for coming tonight on behalf of myself and our amazing 3 storytellers here. In 2 months, we're on this was lost tonight. In December 4th, we have Luck, Luck be a lady tonight. Luck. Get your tickets. They're on sale now. And you can go to the website to also check out all the other amazing events that happen in this very, very beautiful, homey, warm space. Thank you for joining us tonight. Get home safe. Lots of love to you.